Steph, might as well just start on what kind of, I guess, is the topic around the team right now. Are you having conversations with Andrew, and just what's your just view of the situation?
It's difficult. I mean, you can ask everybody on the team. We're gonna have 18 different ways of explaining, personal decision, the sense of urgency of the decision, understanding what the potential consequences and fallout, is. At the end of the day, it is up to him. I think it's no secret to that point. We obviously hope that he has, all the right information, the access to the right resources to ask all the questions he has on, making that decision. We hope he's available. We hope it moves in the right direction. My opinion is, obviously, I got it and ready to be available and following, the mandates and whatnot. But that's kind of where it is, and the next couple coming weeks and how it all plays out is going to be entirely up to him. We obviously hope he's available and with us, and kind of go from there. So it's difficult. Everybody's in a difficult kind of position in that respect, and we've all made decisions that you feel like are right for you and your family and whatever the case is. So this is no different, whether you agree with him or not. You have to let it play out.
Just following up on Steph, the idea of having a starting small forward not there for 41 home games, is that something that's acceptable as a teammate, or do you just have to understand that's just might be the price of this?
Acceptable is a strong word. It's not ideal, but I don't think anybody felt it, expected to be in that or be asked that question on something that's a voluntary decision, I guess, in a sense. But we'll see. I mean, we hope not. We hope we have a full team for the entire year and understand that, on all accounts and what research says and things like that, that it's safe and we're all in the same boat. So we hope he's available, and if not, we adjust accordingly, but we hope not.
Steph, you've done a lot of work during the pandemic to get information out there and to try and get the answers, and your Instagram with Fauci was a huge success. Have you sat down with him and talked to him and expressed your opinion and tried to bring him to the people who can give him information?
I mean, this has been an ongoing thing since the pandemic started for everybody. Nobody's living under a rock in terms of what's actually happening in real life society. The patterns and trends that COVID has presented itself with, and since March of 2020, we've all been in the same boat. So again, that's kind of how it started. Everybody has access, especially in this environment. You have access to the experts and people that are analyzing and studying, researching this thing every single day, and hopefully you tap into that. And again, it's about making a decision that you understand the consequences on both sides, and it's kind of where you leave it.
Steph, you look at this team, you got yourself, Draymond, Clay, now Andre back, the championship guys. Not a lot in the middle age-wise, and you've got these two teenage rookies. You got Wiseman, Jordan's pretty young. Does it feel separated, or does those lines blur sometimes? Or, I mean, do you feel like this is a roster that's pulled together from the spectrum of ages?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it on paper, that's definitely something that jumps off the page in terms of, I think Clay, been here 10 years together now, Draymond as well, Andre for a significant portion of that and the best days of it. So, we've been around and know how we operate, and we have a crop of amazingly talented, high potential, energetic young guys who have a lot to accomplish in this league, and we hopefully can marry the two in terms of what we do on the floor every single night. So I like the challenge of it because there's a a sense of urgency on a training camp and, early in the preseason to see who kind of steps into certain roles and who you can kind of count on, especially until Clay gets back and we understand exactly what our rotation is going to look like and our roster is going to look like in the second half of the season. But there's a lot of opportunity for guys to step up and take advantage of, filling out that rotation and being significant in pieces to the puzzle. And we have 3 lottery guys and who are young but are eager to figure it out and have been grinding all summer long. We've been in here and seen them, put the hours in, and hopefully they can step in and gain confidence early. Wise is one especially who had such an interesting year last year. Not having a summer league last summer, this summer, missing most of training camp, dealing with injuries. And then one, season-ending one, he never really got a full, run of games that he could put, some momentum together in the right direction. So he's always kind of chasing and feeling like he had to prove himself. So hopefully this year, I know it's not an ideal start again, but hopefully he can kind of simplify the game and understand how he's going to help us win. And then that'll hopefully get him in the right position where he can develop his skill set even more. So I'm excited about the opportunity and the challenge. It's going to take a full-fledged commitment from coaching staff, player development staff, the core that we have to put it all together. But, we got pieces.
Steph, somewhat complicated question, but Clay talked about with his dad being a former NBA player, made a lot of money. You know, his dad's black. He was privileged in a lot of ways that kind of sheltered him from racism. But the last year has certainly woke him up in a lot of ways that really has energized him in terms of social justice. From having talked to your mom and your grandmother, I know they certainly kept you aware of things in your youth, but can you relate to Clay, and have you seen a difference in him in terms of that social justice mentality, race mentality?
Absolutely. It's interesting, just even that awareness of being able to be okay with understanding, our childhoods were a little different because of who our parents were and financial resources and whatnot. But there's, it's never too late to activate and become more accountable and responsible to how you can move the needle. And that's different for everybody. Like you said, I didn't necessarily every day experience it myself, but I was educated enough and told stories and going back to where my parents grew up and all that to understand the importance of being a part of, that change, I guess, and using your platform and resources and the microphone to speak. So I love that Clay saying that. I love that anybody who's openly and outwardly accountable to that is taking it seriously and being honest about their journey with it. So for sure.
And I also want to ask you, how much has he changed since the initial injury off the court?
It's kind of hard to summarize it, but I feel like he is just much more comfortable in where basketball is in his life and other things that he has going on that bring him joy. But that only increases the appreciation of being able to, play at this level and really commit himself to the work that it's going to take during rehab to get back to 100%. Because that could be demoralizing for a lot of people when, your greatest joy is taken away for so long. But he's found other things that give him life and give him, fun and joy and a sense of purpose, if you will. And basketball is a big piece of that, but he has to work his ass off to get back there, and it's no easy task at all. So that balance is really, really nice to see, because at one point it was just basketball and basketball only. And I think that's an important thing to realize just as a human being that, it's going to be really gratifying when he gets to the finish line and gets able to, have his moment that he deserves when he comes back. And hopefully he can realize, the positives, if you would, that have come out of it for sure.
Steph, we were talking to Damian earlier, and he said he's never felt more at peace in this juncture of his career. He went through the phase where he felt like he had to prove he belonged, and this, that, and the third. He said he's just never felt as much as peace. It made me curious as to where you are at in your career. Obviously, completely different situations, but this chapter going into this year, what's your mental like? Like, what's your outlook like just as you enter your season?
I feel like I've always lived like this, but I'm all the way just in the moment, just enjoying what's happening right now. There's always how do you take last year and bring it this year, and try to meet that expectation, that level of play. How do you, kind of to Tim's question earlier, how do you make this entire roster work with the old and the young and all that, or the older and the younger? There's so many things that we just don't know, but I'm just, I guess, at peace in the now and living in the now and enjoying just the fact that, the season is here. I think when you get at this stage, going in my 13th year, like, nothing's new, nothing's surprising, and you have to really, like, be intentional about how much fun you have in at this stage of your career. And it only happens by just staying in the now with, committed to what that means. So however you describe that, being at peace or just finding fun in everything and, taking the challenges kind of head on, I'm right there and appreciative that obviously the summer, just to be able to know where I'm going to be for the next 5 years and have that, kind of off the table. I'm excited about that too.
How was Wisconsin this past weekend?
Oh, it was amazing. I've never been to Ryder Cup before, and to see those guys at the highest level of competition, I learned a lot. Even talking to MJ, talking to the guys, just being in that environment, got the juices flowing for the start of training camp. Hopefully, I don't know if I ever go back to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, but it was a good first trip though.
Steph, a couple of quick follow-ups. Just for clarification, and we all learned that a lot can change in a year and a half with everything, but is the plan right now as you sit here in 3 years to be in Paris for Team USA?
I have no idea. I'm terrible at answering those questions. I think I talked to Ann like in June, or no, when I talked to you, talking about this year, and I was like, I was honest. I was still 50-50. I didn't know if I was going to play or not, so I have no idea.
And you mentioned MJ, and I know you got a chance to talk to him this weekend. I don't know how often you got a chance to talk to him growing up with your dad or being around in Charlotte, but what do you think you've learned most from him through the conversations you've had with him over the years?
One, I'm not alone in being a psychopath about golf. Do know that. He might have me beat for sure. But just that competitive spirit never dies. Like, the same killer instinct he had as a player and in business has translated into his presence around like a Ryder Cup team and some of the captains and players and stories he can tell from being there for the last 11 Ryder Cups and stuff like that. Like, that spirit that made him who he is while he was playing basketball permeates everything in life, and that's such a cool kind of concept. You have to find balance, but that's such a encouraging kind of take on how he just lives his life in that respect. Because he gives everything he does his all in that, and he wants to win everything. So it's not just talk; it's how he lives.
Steph, back to Clay a little bit. He said that first of all he does want to play till he's 40. I know we've talked about that with you, but he was reflecting on how well he was playing in 2019 in those finals and shooting and defending, and just he sees himself getting to that level again, but also has the perspective of it's not going to be right away. We talked about the maturity on some of these other fronts, but just where he's come in terms of basketball and knowing his body. Have you seen that growth as well? I mean, what 2 years of rehabbing?
I mean, honestly, I've seen it just in how he's attacked this rehab versus the last one. I know there's some circumstances he couldn't control with, the pandemic and being away from staff and whatnot, but just his commitment to this process, understanding the sense of urgency of doing everything first class so that he gives himself the best chance to get back to 2019 Clay. To your point, the awareness of that process of even just, I was concerned about mentally how he'd be, because I'm sure there's going to be a moment, maybe, Thanksgiving or beginning of December, where he's going to feel like he could walk out in the court and play 30 minutes just because he's that kind of got that dog in him, and he probably is going to feel normal. There's going to be a lag effect of when they actually give him that clearance to suit up. Mentally, that to me would seem like one of the hardest periods of his rehab, when games are going, you can feel the energy of the season, and he feels good. He's probably going to be practicing with us, and he's still got to wait. And just the awareness of knowing the slow build to even just getting back to 100% ready to play, but then also 100% of what he used to be is great, because you got to be patient with it. And that's probably going to be a battle he's going to have to fight mentally day in, day out, especially towards the end of his return to play.
Steph and Clay's talked a lot about envisioning that night when he comes back 2 years. It's going to be a home game, we've been told. What do you envision that night being like for him? And when you guys get on fire, you got the crowd going, and just the Splash Brothers back in action.
It's going to be beautiful. Beautiful basketball. Honestly, it's probably going to be emotional for sure because of everything we talked about. But I'm excited that it's as close as it's ever been. And we'll continue to get that way. So I know the crowd's going to show him so much love like he deserves. I just went to that moment. I told you I'm staying in the now. I just kind of went there. My bad. She was going to be amazing. Whatever other adjectives you can throw in there, it's probably not going to do it justice at all.
Steph, Bob keeps saying he wants to see this team, and he basically ruled out all trades. I mean, not technically, but what is your view of this team and its potential and what it could be? And can you actually know that, since, there's a piece or here that's, never, the whole contingent hasn't been there. Remember full squad back in the day? You don't have the full squad.
Yeah, it's hard to be able to lay out, like, we're going to do this, this person's going to be playing this role, and, give some clarity there, but I feel like we don't have huge holes in the roster. It's just there's a lot of potential for young guys to step up in a meaningful way, probably faster than we've been used to in the past with how we've won, because we haven't really relied on rookies to. We talked about this a little bit last year. Haven't really relied on rookies to come in and play significant roles in balance with our experience in the core. So, but we haven't had 3 lottery picks either. So there's a nice balance of trying to figure out what that looks like. You want to be healthy to give ourselves the best chance to see what that looks like, and take advantage of a full training camp. That I think the organization from player development and our assistant coaches, we've made some structural changes that will hopefully accentuate the needs of what we need and give us some structure around getting to that, to be able to answer that question and understand how to identify what the young guys need to do to help us win. But, our culture remains the same, and everything that we do on the court and how we play, it'll be probably pretty similar to years of past where, it highlights, how different we are as a team, especially when me and Clay are out there and Draymond.
We all know how much luxury tax this team has paid in the last few years, but they did not use their taxpayer mid-level. There could be spots for them to use it. Would you expect them? I mean, it's the buyout market now, but would you expect them to be aggressive? Would you want them to be very aggressive? And would you be a little bothered if they have a chance to use it and do not use it for financial reasons?
Yes to all those answers.
You would want them to be very aggressive.
Yeah, yes, yes, and yes.
Have they told you they will be?
Yes, in the sense of we're having those conversations where you have to be on the same page in terms of what would fill that role and that need. But yes, I would expect all three of those questions to be yes. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.